What's going on, guys? So this is Thursday's lecture, the foreign policy of Presidents Jefferson and Madison. So we're going to be exploring from the time period, like I said, for Unit 4 is 1800 to 1848. So let's also keep in mind our essential question, which we'll talk about in the other slides, but this is a long PowerPoint, so let's get started. So this is just a slide for our do nows. This is only in class, as I'd be giving you guys like quizzes, pop quizzes to kind of get information and check for understanding from the day before, and to give you guys some study material and reference from the day prior. So let's just skip this slide. So this is our essential question for today. So what were the domestic and international causes of the War of 1812, which we talked about it in Wednesday's lecture just a little bit, but this is more in depth in what happened and some of the causes. And like I said, just keep in mind this essential question. Let's keep going. So Great Britain after the Revolution, right? So even after the Revolutionary War, Great Britain didn't disappear from our lives, right? They continued to control parts of Canada and the Caribbean. Their navy was a dominant force which affected American trade, and despite getting independence, still relied on them for manufactured goods. Britain also tied up from the Napoleonic Wars with France, which complicated things further. So go ahead and write down the highlighted parts. They're from your guided notes. And the vocab here is, you could look it up on your free time, or I'll give you time in class. Impressment. So we'll be actually explaining that in class and giving you guys an opportunity to kind of know what that word means. But without further ado, let's continue and let's move on. Along with today's lecture, and we'll also be talking about the father of the Constitution becomes president, James Madison. We had talked about it on Work on a Wednesday lecture as well. As you guys can see, he got 2 terms. Let's go ahead and move on to James Madison. So you guys should be familiar with this particular slide. We've already covered George Washington and John Adams and Thomas Jefferson. So now we talk about James Madison, right? James Madison was also known as the father of the Constitution, right? He became the 4th president of the United States in 1809. So his presidency, like I said, lasted 2 terms. So it lasted till 1817. Here is the official portrait the White House has, right? So if you guys can see, I think I highlighted the dates for James Madison, but if not, because I can't see because of my big bubble I got there. But without further ado, let's go ahead and move on with, like I said, we have about 10 more slides left. It's a little lengthy of a lecture, but let's continue. So after talking about Madison, we're going to go ahead and talk about some of the key issues of his presidency. So Madison's presidency was full of major events, especially concerning trade and our relationship with Great Britain, and we just talked about the War of 1812, right, was a defining moment for his administration, right, along with the battles of the ones listed on the bottom. So you guys see Washington, New Orleans, the Treaty of Ghent officially ended the war, right, in 1816. He recharted the National Bank. So go ahead and write down the highlighted parts, and that's the key issues of his presidency. And without further ado, let's move on. So let's go ahead and talk about the Embargo Act of 1807, right? So one of the crucial policies under Jefferson's presidency was the Embargo Act of 1807, right? It closed all U.S. ports to export shipping, aiming the pressure of France and Britain by stopping American trade with them, right? So, however, this act hurt American merchants more than it affected European powers. So go ahead and keep this in mind, and let's go ahead and talk about the other act that happened in 1809. So the next thing that's on one of the things that happened in 1809 was the Non-Intercourse Act, right? So this followed lifting some of the trade restrictions, right? Except of those with Britain and France. So that's pretty much what it says on there. Go ahead and write down British and French ports. Well, don't put ports, but put the highlighted parts for your guided notes. That's pretty much what it was lifting some of the trade restrictions. It's so short, so let's go ahead and move on. So the next thing we'll be talking about is the Makin's Bill, right? Number 2 in 1810. So this tried to reopen trade but added a twist. Neither country respected our neutrality. We'd stop trading with their enemy. That's basically what it stood for. So yeah, that's pretty much just explaining the bill. So let's go ahead and move on. So in this in class, I'd be showing you guys a crash course video. Don't worry about it if you missed it. I'll go ahead and put it in the link below and on Teams so you guys can go ahead and catch up. But this is going to be on your guided notes, so keep that in mind. But yeah, you're going to be answering these questions in class, a 7-minute video. So let's go ahead and move on. All right, so in this slide, it's talking about the Hartford Convention, right? So in the year 1814, Federalist delegates met in secret at the Hartford Convention, right? They were upset with Madison's war policies and growing political power of the South. While some of them talked about secession, most wanted constitutional amendments to protect their interests, right? So the Federalist Party will soon collapse in part of their operation to the war. That was just a quick, brief summary of the slide. And yeah, I have no idea what that picture is, actually, now that I look at it. I'm probably going to have to edit it because I have no idea. That doesn't tie in with anything. This is the districts. So, yeah, I'm going to take a look at that. But for right now, I guess I could stay on the video lecture. Rock and roll. Alright, so despite of the opposition to the war, national pride surged after the War of 1812, right? Surviving this test against the European powers gave Americans confidence. So the Battle of New Orleans made Andrew Jackson a national hero. And although the battle took place after the war ended, it boosted Americans' morale. So this led to the adoption of the national anthem, as you guys can see on the bottom, the Star Spangled Banner in the year 1991. But yeah, that's pretty much what it says, right? Go ahead and read the slides. Make sure you guys are also reading the slides as well. And yeah, go ahead and write down the guide notes if you miss anything, and let's move forward. So yes, the Treaty of Ghent, right? We also talked about it yesterday for work on it Wednesday, which is actually today. So, anyway, I'm tired. Okay, so let's just talk about the Treaty of Ghent, right? So officially ended the war, like I said, in 1812, but many of the causes of the war, like impressment, were left unresolved. The British had also wanted to create a Native American buffer state in the Midwest, but that didn't happen. Native Americans were, in fact, the biggest losers as Britain abandoned them. So yeah, this is just, I guess these were questions that you should be answering. But yeah, without further ado, let's move on. Alright, so we got about 2 more slides to go over, right? So the next one we're talking about, and this one is Jackson's Battle of New Orleans, right? We also mentioned it on yesterday's lecture as well. So even though the Treaty of Ghent had been signed, news hadn't reached New Orleans yet. Like womp womp, right? So the battle there took place 15 days later, right? So Jackson's victory propelled to him national fame, right? Setting the stage for the age of the common man and eventually his presidency. So kudos to you, Andrew Jackson. But yeah, basically what I said is on the slide as well. Go ahead and write down the highlighted parts if you haven't already, if you missed for whatever reason, or if you just want to get caught up, or maybe you're just studying. I really don't know. But without further ado, it's almost been 10 minutes. Let's go over this other slide. So now let's talk about the Native American conflicts, right? So like I said, we've been talking about the War of 1812. So after the War of 1812, Britain withdrew its supports for the Native Americans. This left them vulnerable and many were forced to surrender their lands to white settlers, right? Those who didn't want to surrender were eventually removed from their lands. So that is really horrible. But yeah, go ahead and write down the highlighted parts. We have one more slide after this. I don't know what time it is. It's almost 10. Very sleepy, but I'm very excited to go over this unit with you guys, this lesson. So let's go ahead and move forward. So this is the assignment for class actually that I'm passing out on Thursday. To wrap up, you guys will analyze a document called America Guided by Wisdom. As we look at this, think about how it reflects the values and challenges of the time and the period, and we'll also discuss their significance as a class. So yeah, that without further ado, this ends today's lesson for Thursday. Thank you guys for keeping up, and if you guys are watching these videos, thank you again. I'm really wanting to give you guys an opportunity to kind of internalize this content, and like I said, Unit 4 exams primarily, it's all an essay, which stinks on my part because that's a lot of grading. But I'm very excited to see what you guys put. But yeah, it's going to be an exciting Unit 4 exam. So make sure you guys are actually grasping the content, as you guys are going to be writing a full essay about it for Unit 4 exam. Without further ado, if you're watching this on Thursday evening, have a good evening. It's Friday, next day. Let's end it strong. But without further ado, I've already taken most of your time. Thank you guys for watching. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.